is in fine arts originally, where I took care of audio engineering, music engineering, filmmaking, graphic design, 3D animation, some performance, and on and on graphic design. So very much communication arts. I'm also an advocate. I like to think of autism. I'm also autistic. So the entire purpose of this project today will be to ask the question, how can we improve AI modeling for autistic or neurodivergent individuals? Do we need to start from the beginning? What are the conflicts and contrasts between neurodivergent, which may include autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and a host of other conditions that are primarily perceptual conditions, and the neurotypical mainstream environment? This typically shows up in terms of not being able to follow necessarily the natural ebb and flow of conversation or what people may suggest when they're speaking. And we found through experience that we can detect bias in AI modeling and algorithms that may filter CVs and so on. So I'll just start the project. Here, our solution, me and my friends, was to try and rewrite the rules of employment and opportunity and how neurodivergent individuals are perceived. So I created the LOET, or the League of Extraordinary Talent, with this particular presentation, this comic book presentation, to show ourselves in a more accurate light. On one hand, while we may struggle with communication, we also excel in terms of focus, in terms of detail, in terms of honesty, and in terms of innovation. So the LOET is our effort to rewrite these rules and rebrand ourselves with something that is memorable and exciting. But without the help of SingularityNET and deep funding, it is merely just graphic design. What we'd like to do is go further and develop an AI model that's trained and developed for us. What happens with autistic individuals is that when we do an intake for a particular job or a survey, our abilities and the things we struggle with can be described as being spiky. Our profile is kind of spiky. We're really good at some things and not so great at other things. It's often described that the neurotypical or mainstream crowd has a smoother profile where their strengths and weaknesses may be less emphasized. This is a generalization, but it provides the shape of the idea that we're going for. Now, the problem we want to solve essentially comes down to employment and mortality. We have, as an autistic group specifically, only around 24 to 30% employment on a consistent basis. And of that, only 6% is competitive employment. And we also have a shorter lifespan that is owing to the stresses of trying to fit in, of trying to navigate through a neurotypical world. So rather than 74 years, our lifespans can be as little as 39 to 54 years old. And that's due to stress, but also due to predilections and trying to soothe ourselves. Now, worldwide, the loss per capita is $500,000 to $3 million. So to zoom ahead here, I propose that we have a secure on-device application that people, autistic and neurodivergent people, can use as a personal diary. Then they select which information will be sent to an online cloud service. Now, the application needs to support privacy, it needs to advocate, and it needs to match income opportunities. The cloud service itself needs to take anonymized information that we would see before sending and begin to build a knowledge graph that can offer both matching of services and abilities and opportunity, but also eventually an empathic support or response for neurodivergent people, because sometimes we want to deal with these things very privately. Okay. So this is how it will fit together. Now, for the application, we want to build a series of nonverbal inputs. We recognize that most surveys are text-based, but our experience of the world can be kinetic or oral or visual or very much internal. So we need to build a whole host of new input methods to support this and answer the question, can these novel methods train in AI accurately? So the cloud service itself will be trained on what are shared with permissions from as anonymous sources to build this knowledge graph. And I'll have to zoom ahead because I'm falling behind. Eventually, we'll have an empathic knowledge graph. We want to push things towards cognitive knowledge graphs and empathic knowledge graphs. And we have a host of scholarly articles to teach us how to do so. And this is beyond my ability, but it will be within the ability of BaseBlocks, who's doing all of the development for us. Where we started when the pandemic began, and now we're at the LOET world. And with the support of SingularityNET, we hope to build the system. Team LOET are the top row. Warren is an expert in marketing, as is Russell. Tracy's an expert in raising neurodivergent families. And Scott, of course, is associated with Hundo, which is a proponent for the Gen Z generation. And BaseBlocks, as you see below, will be able to do all of the development for us. They're 19 strong, based in Ukraine, experience of a decade with AI, and anything else we'll need. So any difficulties will be ameliorated with their participation. And that brings us to the end, slightly over. And it's amazing how fast 5 minutes goes. I'm available to show more information at any time that you are.